Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining us. It is the 24th of May in the lovely year of 2021. This is the Voice of Reason podcast. My name is Sean Phillips, and today I am joined alongside my two lovely co-hosts, Mr. Andy Van Beber and Travis Kirkendall. Gentlemen, how are you two doing this evening?
Fantastic.
Outstanding.
Fantabulous.
Outstanding.
Yes.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it. What a week. What a week it has been. The world
What a year.
the world seems to be, yeah, no kidding. You know, I legitimately feel, first off, I don't know about you guys, but I legitimately feel like this year is flying by. Like as the
Yes.
weeks go by, this year feels like it is flying by. And part to that, I think that it's looking forward to the podcast each week, just to be able to like talk and
Yeah.
just. What's so interesting about this year, as things have opened up in comparison to last year when things were so shut down, there was a lot of confusion and really not knowing what was going to happen. So the year was kind of stagnant and it just dragged on because like nothing was changing. But now that like places are opening up here, there, all over the place, new things are coming out. It makes you kind of realize how quick life flashes right before your eyes, and you definitely got to take advantage of the good stuff while you can, and then enjoy the crazy nonsense that you see in the news and all that good stuff, and take it for what it is. Because man, oh man, I'm really hoping that in the coming weeks we get to have a full-blown podcast about the potential lab leak in Wuhan, China. That is gonna be such a good one.
Yes. Wasn't that interesting this weekend?
Yeah.
How between Fauci and Tom Cotton, Senator Tom Cotton, they were doing so much about the Wuhan. No, there was no. Yes, there was Wuhan. No, there wasn't Wuhan. I thought it was so just remarkable how all of a sudden something that great can just vanish. It's like the mainstream media had amnesia from last year, and now they're just like totally. Oh, well, this might be an actual theory now. Oh, I thought it was quite
Well,
amusing.
people
Well,
are literally getting censored for even bringing it up months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like they get like their stuff deleted, they get kicked off social media, and now all of a sudden it's everywhere.
right,
So
right.
it's funny how that
Yeah.
works.
Well,
Yeah,
don't
that's
have you guys have seen whenever you're on social media the like alerts that come up whenever like COVID's mentioned, and it can even
Oh
be
yeah.
like someone like makes a joke like it just that has COVID-19 in the thing, and then like an alert will
yeah.
pop up like please see the FCC, whatever it might be, for all COVID related things.
Right.
And it's true, like people have come out with things about COVID, or they've said one thing or the other about this pandemic, and then it gets taken down, and it's just like, man, oh man,
Look at all the
this
shit
is
Rogan got. Like what was it last month? And he didn't even say anything that crazy.
that's the thing, is he was literally just like, yeah, if you are fit and young and you stay active, and I love, like, because people were like, you're gonna get people killed. He's literally a podcast host. He's literally just like, yeah, this is
What?
Just
they
How
spit
were
his
much?
opinion.
acting like-
How much
Yeah.
power we
They-
have?
well, they what's funny is like people that listen to Rogan because they like listening to Joe Rogan, like understand, he is a comedian and he brings people on and he talks and he literally says over and over and over and over again in his podcast, don't listen to me, I'm an idiot. Like he repeats it a whole bunch. And
Yes.
like they will take a soundbite from his show. And I think it's just like the time we live in, because look at how popular, like I take, like, I compare Joe Rogan and like Nickelback, right? Kind of like so many people love Joe Rogan, like so many people love Nickelback, and then it became like the cool thing on the internet to hate Joe Rogan and to like hate Nickelback. And it's just like, hey man, hate Nickelback all you want. One of the largest selling tours in the history of the world, as far as one of the biggest selling rock artists. No matter how bad they suck, they still got your money.
Oh,
Joe
yeah.
Rogan signs the largest exclusive deal as a podcaster
I was
in
gonna say,
history, and yet
yeah.
people just find nothing to complain.
One of the best podcasters that there is out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It literally
100%.
like brings everybody on. He brought the savior of the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders, onto the podcast at one point, and no one batted an eye. Everyone's like, "Oh, good for Joe for," and then the second that he's like, "Yeah, man, if you're healthy, if you're fit, I'm not saying you shouldn't get the vaccine, but you probably don't need it. But that's just my opinion."
Ricky
Joe Rogan
said,
will be the literally was like,
Yep.
"Oh my!" They acted like he was going to war against Fauci by himself. Like it was just, it's wild.
Well, in that case, I want to tell you
times we live in.
Well, and then so now you look at you mentioned Fauci. This guy has got more skeletons in his closet than you can shake a stick at. His past work with the NIH and just all this stuff. I'm like, this guy is. You want to talk about double dipping? This guy is double dipping. World Health Organization, the National Institute, all these, and his ties with Wuhan. This guy, and nobody's watched anything about this guy at all. Nobody's, Dr. Fauci. He served under George H.W. and George W. and Bill Clinton and all, and how great Dr. Fauci is. And man, this guy goes unchecked a lot. We're taking
Well, I think the narrative's starting to change a little bit.
You think so?
Thank God.
Yeah.
From what I'm seeing, hell, like we said, like 6 months ago, you mentioned the Wuhan lab, you get canceled. Now all of a sudden it's on mainstream news networks. So I think the narrative's starting to change for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really hoping that a legitimate investigation is done and more things come out of this, because this is one of those things that like they thought they might have been able to cover their tracks and kind of sweep things under the rug, and maybe there was absolutely nothing, but it seems like there was a real, when we say real big mess up, I'm talking a global pandemic scale mess up that occurred out there. And it sounds like the funding that he put in place in that location was a huge cause of the problem. Mm-hmm. One thing that I am genuinely surprised that we don't see it enough. And again, maybe it's a non-story, but the fact that potentially in 2019, several doctors from the Wuhan virus lab, whatever you want to call it, went to the hospital with COVID-like symptoms back in 2019.
November 2019.
Employees from that and then employees from that same hospital were quarantined and detained by police officers. Hush hush. Pretty interesting thing we got going here.
I'll do one better for you, Sean. I know our conspiracy show was 2 weeks ago. So this is one that stop me if you've heard this. Okay, so this virologist from, I want to say it was either Harvard or Stanford. I can't remember which one it was, but this guy he worked at Wuhan. He was arrested. It was Harvard, because he was arrested at Boston Airport at Logan International, and he's arrested with his two Chinese. What do you call them? They were like his assistants or whatever. Both of these two Chinese guys actually have Army experience. They've both been in the Army at some level, and they were arrested bringing in a live biological agent into the United States. Never is revealed what the biological agent was, but this guy was being paid by the Chinese government $50,000 a month. And he had federal funding also from the United States government. Now, when this guy was arrested at Logan International Airport, you hear about it for a little bit, and then all the talking heads say, "Oh, there was no connection between him and COVID." And I'm like, okay, so it was like this was on accident that we did this coverage about this guy. What connection is there between this professor? You don't get that kind of high-profile money from the Chinese government, and you get funding from the federal government, and we don't talk about him. There's just too many there, and then you enter in that thing. That guy. So you mentioned November 19th. This guy was arrested. It was either October or November. This guy of 2019. This guy was arrested. I mean, it's just all too close in
Yeah.
together. I mean, I'm just like, and for me, and of course, I still don't support what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. But now the Democrats' response, if you haven't been watching, the Democrats' response to this investigating Wuhan is, well, we need to look into we need to do an in-depth investigation as to what happened with the storming of the Capitol on January 6th to try to counter the. I'm like, you were there. You should know what happened. You saw it happen. But it's a really ugly political battle that we got going on, and I mean, I don't think
That's the shame too about politics right now that we see, and this is politics throughout history, but it always seems to be you can't even hold your own side accountable. Like, hey, it's okay that there was a mix-up. Like, it's okay that things were wrong. Now let's correct them instead of, well, what they did was worse, so let's focus on that right now. Like, no, look into both.
Well,
We seem to have unlimited resources at any given time that we can just print $1,400 in anybody's bank account. So I'm fairly certain we can spend the resources to make sure that a good, thorough investigation gets done.
Thank you, Uncle Joe, for that. By the way, we're not complaining about that at all.
No, of course not yet.
No, but when I look at this, I'm going to rest. I'm going to rest easy knowing that I would like to rest easy knowing that our government is actually looking into this, because I told my wife from the beginning, I hope that there was not some sinister element that was in place because of this COVID thing, that this is not some sinister element. But now that I've done more study and looking at, the virology, this is what they do. These, we have a former student who's studying to be a virologist, and I'm not going to drop names, but we were actually talking the other day. He said, this is what they do. They look at worst case scenarios, and they look at these. I mean, they engineer these nasty viruses to find out how they can fight them. And this one just happened to, cross contamination got out into the public. And I mean, to me, that's kind of sloppy handling. If you're working in a lab, I mean, you need to have some, you need to be smart about this and say, okay, is there any chance that this can get out of this, secure room, and we don't want to contaminate.
I feel like, yeah, with a thing like that, like, those labs need to be somewhere placed so far deep in the Himalayas, like, just away from society, so that if there is like an issue, it's like, okay, well, we don't have to maybe almost end humanity, like, because someone didn't wash their hands after they peed. Like, there's such a
yeah. Well, and
it actually just spread to the Himalayas. I just read it today. I guess like over 100 people on Mount Everest just got infected with COVID-19.
Shut up.
Well, that's because they're standing in line waiting. If you're not getting COVID, you're suffocating. Man, it is a tough time to be up on that mountain, I guess.
Yeah.
God.
I'm glad
I learned that. That was like a random fact that I had learned, that more people die waiting in line on Mount Everest than like the actual trek itself anymore nowadays. It's literally the lack of oxygen trying to get to the highest point is what's killing people.
Yep.
Yeah. They don't. Yeah.
That's going to be. I mean, but as this plays out, I think it's going to. We're definitely not at the end of this. So this is going to be something that's going to pick up.
Oh, have you guys seen the new Netflix movie by Zack Snyder?
I've heard about it.
I think it's like
Army of the Dead.
I forget what it's called even.
Army of the
Dead. Yeah. It's a zombie action thriller. It's got Dave Bautista in it. Watched it last night, and it's kind of like not funny in a sense, but like it makes you think, oh crap, this kind of seems like what could have potentially happened with the COVID. Whereas the very beginning, there's like this militant, like this group of army guys that are pulling security detail for this. They're transporting this object that turns out to be like patient zero. And basically, it was just one little mix up is what caused this wreck and this thing to, get out and cause Las Vegas to become, big old zombie land. And it's kind of like, man, it seems to be that it could just be something that simple that happened over there at this lab that caught just something so simple, so little, and the lengths that they went to cover it up to say it was a, you know, was it a pangolin, a bat, whatever they excuse they came up with.
That was pretty weak.
Is
I'm just waiting.
It's wild.
I'm just waiting for this vaccine to turn me into one of those I Am Legend vampires.
Well, and that, you know what? That's what I've always said. I've said I forgot who I heard this from, but I mean, how isn't it crazy though? How sometimes how close to the truth science fiction can get sometimes, and it really frightens me. How, you know, like the whole I Am Legend thing, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this stuff. Please don't happen. Please, end of the world. Please, Jesus, just hold off just for a little bit longer.
Well, hey, I Am Legend predicted the Batman versus Superman. So, if you don't remember,
really?
in that movie, like there's legit in that movie, in I Am Legend, on the billboard, there's like a thing that's like it says Batman versus Superman, like in a billboard in the movie I Am Legend. Let me pull it up.
I'll have to find that out. Well, while you're pulling that up, do you want me to go into my little thing here before we?
Yes, please.
All right.
Do.
Well,
what a transition this is. Oh my God.
Yeah, this is the greatest trend. Wait, no, I'm not going to set that one up again for Sean. I set that one up last week. By the way, thank you, Matt Edelman, for joining us last week. He couldn't stop talking about how much he enjoyed the show, and we, just like Hank, we've got to start getting some of our repeat guests back on again, because we've had some.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been blessed to have some really great guests, guys. I can't tell you enough about that. But anyway.
Yeah, I want him back on.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. So what I want to talk to you guys about with my little segment tonight is about Missouri Revised Statute 170.345. This actually affects me directly. This is called the Missouri Civics Education Initiative. Okay. What this was passed this was introduced to the Missouri Senate back in 2016. It went in effect for the 2018-2019 school year. What this is to make kids more aware, to make kids more enabled to know about their government, how it works. We are required now. This is my second year giving this test, because we didn't give it last year, obviously because of COVID. But everybody who takes government class, well, when you graduate, let me back up. When you graduate high school, you have to have the little Constitution stamp on your transcript that says you passed the Constitution test. And now Missouri is requiring that you have the little citizenship test stamp to pass. And this is a great, just some of the things here. It says here, the examination shall consist of 100 questions similar to the 100 questions used by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, that are administered to applicants for United States citizenship. So, we're required. This is really, it's only a six statement part of the Missouri Revised Standard. So I gave this test for the second time last week, and I'll read some of these questions to you guys, and then I'll come back to some of the results. So let's just do some basic questions here. Okay. What is an amendment?
Basically, an amendment is the law of the Constitution. It's saying what the standard is.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, we would kind of clarify them as like an amendment would be a change made to the Constitution. Yeah.
All right.
Or like an amendment would be a change made to it. Something.
What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment?
Freedom of speech.
Yep, sure. Okay. You only have to mention one. Okay. Let me go down through here. Name one branch of government.
House of Representatives.
Okay. You can say
like the legislative branch.
Legislative branch.
House,
executive, judicial.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get a little bit more. Okay. How many U.S. senators are there?
2 each state.
100.
Yeah.
100.
So 100. Now we get to fun. Now there are some toughies on here. That maybe some.
Wait, time out. This is, and I might learn. This might make me sound really stupid. DC, do they have senators? Are they granted?
Okay, so
Do they count?
so DC actually they have
They're
non-voting.
trying to, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they are trying to become a state. That they are actually one, but they have non-voting.
Correct.
They have non-voting represent, just like Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Virgin Islands. They have
Okay,
non-voting members.
that's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Um,
because I knew that they had people, they just didn't count. So I just wasn't sure.
so now let me give you some of the ridiculous ones and name 2 federal holidays.
President's Day and
There's like 20 on this list. There's a good. I mean you could
Memorial
go,
Day.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, Mother's
Memorial
Day,
Day, yeah.
Mother's Day,
I'm trying to think of all the weekends I got
Mother's
off in the military.
Mother's Day, Father's Day,
Veterans Day,
Veterans
Martin
Day,
Luther
Memorial,
King Day.
Martin Luther King Day, Labor Day. But okay, so now here's some of
Is
these.
Juneteenth one yet?
Nope, not saying anything.
I'm dead serious.
No,
I'm dead
no,
serious.
it's
I
not.
don't know if it is or okay.
Okay. Name one of the longest rivers in the United States. Name one of the 2 longest rivers in the United States.
Missouri,
And
Mississippi.
Mississippi.
There you go. Okay, now this one. Okay, what is the capital of the United States?
Washington, D.C.
Washington D.C.
So I gave this so you get a feel for what this test is. Okay, so this test is very very simple. So I had to bump up, and I had to do I've had to do this both times I've administered this test. I've had to
Grade the curve, huh?
yes. And this you want to talk about you want to talk about feeling like a failure. I feel like a failure on and by the way, we have these teacher we meet with our department like if I'll meet with Montgomery City or I'll meet with Louisiana's history teacher, we sit down and we'll share these stories. It's not just it's district wide, it's statewide that this is happening. I mean, for me, all you need is a pulse. You've had to have had a pulse in school at any time, and you should be able to get. I'll post a link to this here in the podcast here in a second. Go to this test. Take this test. I think that but the number of kids statewide who are not passing, and we have to give it to them until they pass. We cannot give them a passing grade in the class until they pass this test. And to me, this goes back to something we were talking about before we got on air, Travis. We were talking about we use this word entitlement so much that these kids just deserve to be handed stuff, and and one of the biggest things that irks me as a teacher, and I don't care if you teach biology, chemistry, calculus, U.S. history, when a kid says, "Oh, I'll never need this again." To me, that's a slap in the face because there's parts of my education that I wish I could remember, that I could apply. I'm not going to need to know Pythagorean's theorem maybe or not if I'm not going to be an engineer or anything, but still, look at it. To me, that just shows an underappreciation. And again, I'm tooting my own horn here because I am a teacher, but this just shows such an underappreciation of what educators do.
Yeah.
And the number of kids, like we had graduation yesterday at Clopton, and we had students who came in. You guys come in. You see sometimes you guys come to these graduations, and I have kids who were maybe the pothead or may have been or been the partier or been the trouble kid who was always in detention, but they all come back and they say the same thing. I wish I would have paid attention more. I wish I would have paid attention more because, it's always shoulda, woulda, coulda because we're living these kids. And I did the same thing when I was in high school. We live in the moment. We don't have a true appreciation for what education really is until we get away from it. But I just thought I'd share that with you guys. This is, and I applaud the Missouri General Assembly for doing this or passing this because it opens up our eyes as educators. It opens my eyes as an educator that I need to take my job a lot more seriously when I, and not just assume, oh, these kids should know this stuff. They should know this stuff. And that's part of that. Part of the scores on these tests I am to blame, because so many times teachers already assume, oh, the kids already know this. Well, and I mean, I have to approach my career anymore with the idea that, maybe they don't know this. I may need to follow up on this. So I take part responsibility on this too.
That's like such a huge challenge for you as an educator. And I mean, I'm go from back my experience being that age and that mentality. I didn't care. I was ignorant, and you trying to reach me and get it in my head, the information, and me just not, I don't know. It's a challenge to get to somebody that age and that mentality. I mean, I don't know how you guys do it, now that I'm older and kind of see the difference. I mean, that's a real challenge. And again, teachers are underpaid for what you guys do.
Well, and I mean, we don't do, obviously we don't do it for the money, but I look back, I always think back, the only D I ever got in school was in geometry. I literally hate geometry to the source of my being. But I had, and I'll mention this teacher, and I don't know if she's still alive, but Pat Martin, she was a great teacher, and she stayed at school every night till 5:30, and she would offer tutoring every night, Monday through Friday. She was, from the first day of school till the last day of school, she was there every night until 5:30, and we knew that we could go to school, and she would be in her room until 5:30. School got out at 3:30. She was there for an extra 2 hours. It wasn't paid extra, wasn't anything. And my mom and dad said, when they saw my midterm grades, when that D, they're like, you're not going anywhere until that D gets up to a B-. And you're going to go over there and see that geometry teacher every night until you get this up to and it was because of her that I got my D up to a B-. And, teachers like that who I know, we have some teachers, and what's bad is we do, just like, we've talked about bad cops and bad this, we have bad teachers too. We have people who go in there and they go in for the three best things: June, July, and August. That's why they become teachers. And they don't give a rat's hairy butt about anything about kids. And I'm blessed to be at the district that I'm in, because we have a lot of great teachers. 99.99999. I don't even know if we have, I can't label anybody as a bad. We have a group of great teachers at Clopton. But I've been at some school. I've been to these track meets where with other coaches they went into teaching to be a coach, which is honorable. But at the same time, if you don't put anything into your craft as a teacher, you're just taking up space, in my opinion. So.
Well, yeah. What's more important,
Yeah.
A small district like that, being a coach or being a teacher?
You can influence a lot of kids being a coach, and we have great. And again, we have 100%. And we have great coaches at Clopton too, because the guy who we have as our head men's basketball coach right now, this guy makes character education number one.
I've heard good things about him.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Same.
He's fantastic. And he has goals and ideas. He teaches our elementary kids too. And we have a lot of challenges with our elementary kids. Two of my kids are, they're there, I know there's some kids who aren't being taught what manners are and what respect is. And these are words that he uses every day in class. And I love it. I love it.
It's good to see finally somebody good in charge of that program.
Yep.
But anyway.
But I just thought I'd share that with you guys. So, So.
Let me ask you a question. Does the school district still do they offer like a fax class or anything like that?
No.
No home economics class?
No, we cut when what's the name of the Wholesome, when the Wholesome plant closed. Geez, what's that been now? 12 years ago. You guys were still in school when that happened. And we cut. So we had, and that's the curse of the small district, because we figured, Larry and I figured this up last year. Sometime we talked about core classes versus electives. And in history, we used to have, so right now the only electives we have in history now are modern world and ancient civ, which is what you guys had when you were there. But we used to offer civics, economics, psychology. I'm trying to think if there was another one. But yeah, we had like 4 or 5 electives, and we had home ec, we had wood shop, but I want to tell you something. We're slowly starting to build that back up now. We actually are offering more. Like I said, there's greenhouse. We have ag construction. We're starting, which are classes we're starting to get back now, and it's been a slow course, but yeah, I think we need more electives like that.
No, absolutely.
Anyone could have the argument on what classes they think should be considered core versus non-core. I'm not one of those individuals that thinks like we just need to make it optional if kids do or don't take math, because then no one on the face of the planet Earth in America is going to know how to do math, because no kid is going to want to be like, love to take math class. But from experience, I can say that electives I use more on the outside in the real world than most, with the exception, like, here's the thing, regardless of what anyone, just the way that society is now, I would seriously say for me, the 2 most important classes that I ever took were government and health.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, it literally just comes down to the amount of stuff we see about the government, and for me, as an individual that works a government job, as a young up and coming entrepreneur, like, you have to understand those things. That's like one of the other better classes that I also took as well, was a semester long, and it was a Dave Ramsey course.
Yes,
that
personal
was
finance.
A personal finance class, which was extremely important, and you just don't see those. Like, again, this is not to throw any kind of shade at math teachers, but I've never used anything from those classes out. Like, and mind you, I worked with a lot of numbers. I've in the service industry, I use math all the time while at my job, but it was multiplication, subtraction, addition, division. Okay, I didn't need to know y equals mx plus b. I didn't need to know all this other stuff. Those things are important, but I think they should be important if that's the career that you want to pursue. Whereas, regardless of what people say, home ec is such an important class, because I know people my age that don't know how to do their laundry or cook food. I know people that,
other than putting something in the microwave,
or like, exactly, or like health class. How important people don't understand their health is long term.
Yeah.
Like, it's not taken seriously while in school. That was like a joke of a class because it was so easy. It was literally like, here's a 20-page packet you get once a week, you knock it out, and whatever. But but
that's what I'm getting.
For me, that's one that we really need to teach more of.
Well, I want to tell you something. One of the greatest classes I had in school was shop class, because in that class, and this is something basic that I don't even think of anymore, how to read a tape measure, how to know how to, you'd be surprised about the amount of people who could not tell you what those marks are. I pull that tape measure out and I say, okay, between 1 and 2, tell me what each one of these little hatch marks means. And the kids would look at you like you were speaking to them in Chinese or something, because they have no idea what that is. Or you ask somebody, how do you balance your checkbook? How do you balance your checkbook? I took consumer education in high school. We were all required. I mean, it faded away there for a while, and now we're coming back to it with personal finance. But in consumer education, I was taught about the basics of capitalism, about profit motive, about how to make all this stuff and how to do all this stuff and how to balance your checkbook and what it means to compare pricing and how to not just do what do you call impulse buying and all the stuff that Dave Ramsey talks about now. I mean, to me, I mean, I know a lot of people. I have some of my best friends who haven't balanced their checkbook in probably 2 or 3 years. I'm like, okay, so how do you have an accurate photograph of, well, when I get over what do you call that, overdraft on your checking account? I'm like, well, that's why you balance your checkbook, so you don't overdraft. And I mean, and Dylan Butler says, you'd be surprised how many carpenters I know that can't read a tape measure. That's sad. That is sad. Oh my God. Butler, I can't even believe that. That's sad. So
I
yeah,
can.
well, but and I mean, what is it? The statistic, the average consumer family consumer debt right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $20,000 per household, and that's
I had seen
credit
something recently that
credit
came out
credit
about
card debt,
that.
and I was like, and what's bad is I'm still paying, and this is bad, fellas, because when I first got married, and I think I've gotten an education in consumer math since I've been married. Not that my wife and I, but I mean, I'm a terrible impulse buyer, but I mean, learning the outcome of how much interest, what interest can do to you on a credit card. Oh my gosh, my first credit,
The
my
interest.
first credit card when I was 22 years old. I still remember this to this day. What do you think? This is back in '99, 2000. What do you think my first interest rate on my first credit card ever was? Mastercard, MSTA Mastercard.
Probably
Anywhere
24.9.
yeah,
What 20
anywhere 23, 25.
25.9%.
I believe it.
So I'm talking. So for every dollar, and now I'm realize for every dollar that I borrowed, I'm paying. I have to
Paid
pay
25 cents
I
back.
have to pay $1.25 back. That's crazy. And I was like, how much of an idiot was I to even buy anything on that card? And I maxed that card
That's
out.
one of that's like why the only credit card I currently have is a secure card where like I put cash on it and that
God
is
bless
the
you.
max limit. But the thing is, like, there's days where I feel broke, like really broke, because I'll look at my checking account and like be like, wow, I don't get paid for another week and a half like this. But then I go, for me, thankfully, I don't have any debt. So it's like, okay, well,
God bless you.
I'm cash poor, but I'm not broke. Like,
Oh, I'm cash poor and
that's
broke.
that's one of the interesting
That's the bad
things is
thing. I'm
You're still
cash
in the
poor and
green.
broke. Yeah.
I'm still in the green. Yeah, but that's one of the, it makes me sad that that's kind of where it is, we've adapted as a society where we based our worth off of items, off of materialistic things, which sucks. Travis is a really good example of really enjoying and experiencing, having experiences. Like he might not think it, but like whenever he lived in Alaska, like
Yeah.
you did like a lot of hiking, right? You'd post those
Yeah.
photos. You did a lot of living in the moment kind of things. And even in like
Oh,
the
yeah.
conversations we've had, we talk about experiences. One of my favorite things is, for those that don't know, like Travis and I own a coffee business together that we're getting off the ground, called American Traditional Coffee. And I think my favorite thing, and part of the reason why I went into business with Travis as opposed to asking anybody else or even trying to go into anybody else, because when we took on this thing together, it was never the conversation never was like, dude, we're gonna be fucking loaded when we get this thing rolling. Like, it was never that. Literally, the goal was always like, let's do it right. Let's do it slow to where eventually we can say we make a living doing things we like. Make a living, not buy a 12 car garage and all, those things would be cool, but it's like, I like the idea of having a partner that was like safe and smart about a lot of things like that. And so, there's not a lot of those kind of people in the world. And I think, like, I wish more people had that mentality of like, I know instant gratification is a good feeling. Like, there's nothing better than throwing down a Big Mac. Like, I love it. I love that instant gratification, or I like that ability of like, well, I don't get paid till Friday, but I just remembered I got this. You know what? I could sign up for the Dick's Sporting Goods credit card and just put it on that, and then I'll pay for, this stuff later. Like, and then you wonder why we have what's the deficit at now? Like
28 trillion.
I don't even
28,
Yeah.
28 trillion.
And growing.
I remember in high school when it was just like
8 trillion when you guys
13.
Well, yeah, no, but I was going to say the biggest jump came between 2008 and 2016, and then Trump did one better where he grew at $4 trillion during his presidency, and now Joe did it in a weekend with just a trillion, adding a trillion in a weekend. So, you know,
Yeah.
Okay, so that actually is a good point. I have a question for you guys. So
Okay.
we're a couple months into the Biden presidency now, and I saw this spread recently. It was like the Trump years versus the Biden months. And I want your guys' input, where one of them was like the cost of lumber 5 months ago versus the cost of lumber now. And like the cost of corn, a bushel of corn, I couldn't tell you the exact numbers. But based off the ginormous jumps in cost of some consumable goods that we've seen since Biden has taken office, where are we on the pendulum of this is Trump's fault versus this is Biden's fault?
well, historically speaking, when you talk about an economic swing, you cannot automatically look at what's happening in the now, historically speaking.
Yeah.
But these are not these are historic times we're living in because of COVID packages, because of what do we have? So we had three stimulus packages passed in the course of a year, 14 months. And so we're now seeing the effect of that. Interest rates are, I mean, think about this. Why are interest rates staying as low as they are right now? Why do you think, what is the purpose of having low interest rates? This is something else that people don't tell you about in consumer math. What do you think the purpose is of lower interest rates?
Well, they're doing it to
People
fight
are
inflation, right?
Well, and it's yes to stimulate the economy. People want to borrow more. It's like right now. So you Sean, you mentioned the price of lumber. People are trying to figure out why the price of lumber is going up. I'll tell you why the price of lumber is going up because the interest rates are prime is still at like what 2.7, 2.8, okay, and it's literally costing $180 per square foot. I got the stat a couple weeks ago. It's costing $180 a square foot to build a new house, which is ridiculous. A good price is around 100 to 105 a square foot's a good price to build at. But people are eating that $180 a square foot because finance that at 2.8, 2.9%, you're still, that's still pretty good, And but what's bad is now we're going to have this you said inflation. We're going to have this overinflated economy where you're paying for a $300,000 house that in 15 years probably won't be worth half that. When lumber prices have to drop before long. They have to. You just can't. We have been sub 4 point interest rates for what, 2 years now, 2 years, 3 years. I mean, you cannot continue to push this kind of economy.
Well, it's a bubble.
Yeah. Oh, it's got to. Yeah, we're going to see it.
I mean,
We'll see it happen.
I'm not going to sit here and call for a crash or nothing crazy, but you can't deny that this is absurd.
Well, we haven't had
all across the board.
Travis, when was the last time we had a market correction?
How bad?
10-15%.
We had one not that long ago back in
Was it
I think it was 10 or 15%. Wait, 10. Wait, what were you about to say?
No, I was going to say was it last year, year before last? Or has it been closer?
So we had one earlier this year. It was probably around like I think maybe 10%.
So what would
there was the one with COVID that was like 40%, 30%.
Yeah, but you can't you can't that's not really a correction. That's just an effect.
Oh yeah, that was
so
correction, yeah, but
a major correction. What do you say a major correction?
Well, there was a huge one in crypto.
Yeah.
Like 50% of the market just got wiped out over a weekend.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I lost 50%, but that's a different story. There was a recent correction a couple months back, but it bounced right back up to a new all-time high.
I just think that what we're seeing now, though, but to go back to your original question, Sean, I think it's a combination of the two. I think saying it's, Trump didn't help anything. Biden definitely hasn't helped anything. And what's bad is now, and I'm glad to see that Missouri acted last week and said, Mike Parsons came out and said June 13th, we're going to roll back the unemployment COVID unemployment benefit. We're gonna roll that back. And what's really bad is, what is it? It's an extra $300 a week or something like that. And we're having people just say, "Oh, I'm going to take the rocking chair pay," and why go back to work when I can make this extra $300 a week? Why? But Missouri, Montana, Iowa, it's basically, what's bad is, well, it's not bad, but it's kind of a Republican kickback. All of these Republican governors' states are the ones who are rolling this back, and Illinois is not, of course, saying anything anytime soon. So,
No, of course not.
yeah.
And if you live in Illinois, we are hiring. A lot of places are hiring. There's a lot of jobs available. There's no shortage of jobs.
By the way, so something else I did this last week. So last Monday, I went. I don't know if I told this last week or not. I went driving last Monday. I hadn't done Lyft or Uber driving since last July. And I get, and Travis, I know you probably get these texts from Lyft and Uber all the time about come back and drive, and you do this many rides in a week. So I couldn't pass one up. There was one that said, you give 12 rides, you can get a $75 bonus. I said, or 10 rides. It was 10 rides. I said, I can't. That's easy money. I can do that in a day. And so I didn't have anything going on last Monday, and I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm going to go over to Springfield. We had to pick up some stuff from over there, and I said, I'm going to do some driving while I'm over there. And she says, okay. And I get over there, and I was 15 minutes outside of Springfield. And this has seldomly happened. I mean, except like on busy weekends like Christmas or Thanksgiving. But on a Monday, no holidays nearby or anything, I get a ping 15 miles outside of town. I'm like, well, if you want to wait that long. I get into town, I picked the guy up, and I said, were you waiting long? He said, I was surprised to see, because it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. And he said, it's hard for me to get a ride. I said, what are you talking about? There's like 10 or 15 drivers that are usually on. He said, no. He said, I usually have to wait 20 to 30 minutes to get a ride now. And I'm like, what? And so I went over. He said, yeah, go over to the Lyft app and look and see. And I went over, and this is how we compete against the drive. We're kind of cutthroat in Springfield. We'll see where the other one's at, and we'll kind of try to hedge in on them. I pulled up the user app, and on a Monday morning, usually during peak rush, one other driver was on, and there's usually 10 drivers on. I said, what is this about? Mm-hmm. He said, well, apparently Lyft, and I didn't get this memo, but apparently if you felt threatened by COVID, you could claim unemployment, so you couldn't. And so he said, ever since that, everybody's claiming that. I'm like, so you now have Lyft drivers who are claiming unemployment. I'm like, you got to be seeing. And Reed Leak, our friend Reed Leak just got on. He said, in the Kansas City area, Lyft is practically non-existent. Uber isn't as bad, but you can't rely on them for transportation.
Yep. Like
you used to. So, but so to finish my story up, and then I'll shut up. But it was, I gave 12 rides in 4 hours and 15 minutes, and usually that's on a weekday in Springfield with 10 drivers driving. That's usually about what you'd have by 3 or 4 o'clock. Springfield market is not huge, but there's enough of a push of a demand, and I've made that. I've made as much as $250 in a night before on New Year's Eve. I've cleared $250 on a night before when the demand's through the roof, but on a Monday morning, and I make that. If I drove all day, I would make close to probably $200. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a huge shortage right now. They're trying to put up a bunch of promotions. I get them all the time.
Well,
I get a lot of peak pay stuff for DoorDash, like a lot of peak pay, and which I don't know. I feel like Jeff City's a lot like Springfield in a way where it's not like a huge market, but
right.
It can be pretty decent. But that actually makes sense because I had to take an Uber in St. Louis a little while ago, and I normally prefer Lyft. Lyft is the one I prefer to use, just cheaper. Mm-hmm. Like it'll be the same exact place. It'll be $4 cheaper than an Uber. Couldn't find a driver for a while, and that actually makes a lot of sense now. Mm-hmm. When I think about it.
Well, and so I had somebody call me today. One of my buddies called me today, and he said, "Hey, could you give me a Lyft to work? My truck's being worked on." I said, "Well, let me look and see what the going rate is on Lyft right now." And it was about about a 30-minute drive, and usually something like that would go like 40 or $50. $87.
Holy shit.
87. I was like, he's like, yeah. He said, I think I'll stay home from work today. I said, yeah, you might want to do that. Because
That's ridiculous.
it would cost him more for the lift to and from work than what he would make in an 8-hour shift.
Yeah.
I was like, well, okay.
It's a serious problem. They were
That
they
actually makes sense.
The company just passed some their own little stimulus package to try to
Yep.
get drivers on the road.
Yep.
But honestly, their promotions, in my opinion, they haven't been as good as they were months ago.
No. Well, and then I got the email from Lyft. Was it yesterday or this weekend? $800 if you refer a driver to Lyft. $800.
How many drives does that driver have to complete before you get the money?
I think I think it was like 10 or 11. It wasn't much. I mean, if they or it's like either 10. It was like either 10 rides or logging on 4 or 5 days in a row, something like that. And I was like, I mean, I could work out a deal with somebody. I'm like, dude, just do this for me for a week.
Just do it 50-50.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this will bite us in the butt. It's only a matter of time. Just wait.
Yeah. Well, Sean, I'm curious to hear about this. I'm curious to hear you guys talk about this recruiting thing.
Yeah. Travis, I'll let you start. You were the one that sent me the video, which I appreciate because.
And I'm going to post a link to this below.
Before we get like too deep diving into it, my thoughts on, the Army being gung ho all the time, 24/7. I don't believe in that because that's just not the job. Like, especially depending on what you do for the military, that's not the job. However, the way that we market what the military is for some, and the way that other nations do, especially in just today's time, the time that we live in today, is very, very interesting. Travis, I'll let you kind of speak on it because you were the first one to watch the video and send it to me.
I thought you had sent it out to us. Oh wait, no, I did send it to you guys. Never mind. So I got this sent to me from a buddy of mine who's up in Alaska. I guess they were making a big deal about it. And basically it's a comparison video of the Chinese Army's recent recruiting video. And then it shows the Russian Army's recent recruiting video. And then it shows the most recent United States Army recruiting video. Basically, the Chinese and the Russians did an outstanding recruiting video about how badass their military was. Mm-hmm. And it looks as if they are straight up gearing for war and are going to destroy everybody in their path. Like, I'm not exaggerating. They did a very well done video that was marketed for what it is. It's the Army.
And the Chinese video could have been a damn short miniseries. It was a long commercial.
Yeah, it was like a live trailer for like some video game or something. It was like, holy shit. And it was effective. 100. I mean, it gets your attention. And then, but what scared me the most was ours, and not in a good way. It was, so you have these two videos, and again, you gotta watch the video. I don't know, Andy, if you can put the link to it.
I just put it up right now. It's on our Facebook page.
So you watch those two videos, and then you watch the United States one, and basically it's a cartoon and it talks about this girl who had to overcome all these just terribly so hard challenges that were just, she had it so bad. And it's nothing to do with her being a girl. It's just the fact that this person just had it so bad, and they had to overcome so many challenges, and they joined the Army to overcome their challenges. And she climbs over the wall, and then she's in the uniform, and she's just this soldier. And It was weak.
I just
And
post.
it could have been a guy too, and it doesn't matter if it was a girl or a guy. It was weak, and this video doesn't surprise me. From my time, and I was in the Army for 5 years of active duty, and when I first joined, I had heard the old guys talk about, man, the Army just ain't the same. It's a new Army. It's a new Army, and this was 5 years ago. And even from the beginning of my 5 years until at the time I got out, I saw a change. Whether it was political agendas being, shoved down our throat, whether it was the lowering of standards. Oh my God, the standard it's sad how low it has dropped. The Army they're giving automatic promotions now to people that literally go to promotion boards and say, I do not want to be a leader. I do not want to get promoted. I do not want to be a sergeant. 3 months later, they're a sergeant in charge of soldiers. People would fail fitness tests and they're okay. They actually lowered the standard for the fitness tests so more people could pass.
Are you kidding me?
No, yeah,
Wow.
they for the ACFT, Sean, you know this. They got the 3 different levels based off your job, and more support jobs. They have a much lower standard of what they have to do. It's just, I don't know. It got to the point. I can honestly say, and I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying this to show the change in the Army. And if I got any friends I served with listening to this, they'd agree with me. We were the last group of guys that really had to earn it to get that promotion. We really had to show we wanted to do it and bust our ass, because it was after we got promoted. I remember it was a couple months after we got promoted, the Army announced the automatic promotions. And I'm not kidding you. I saw it. It just went downhill after that. And
So are you saying
sucks.
are you saying it's kind of like a participation trophy then, kind of like thing then, or what?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And it sucks, that's something you should be proud of that you did, to say I associated myself with the Army for 5 years and did the things that I did. But now it's like, man, I'm glad I got out when I did. I would want to be a part of it now. And it's scary to think that the direction the Army is going and the real world problems that are going to come in the future, it's not a matter if, it's a matter of when. I'm concerned. I just am. From what I saw right before I got out to what I'm seeing now, we will lose wars. And I don't say that to be conspiracy. It's we will lose wars if this keeps going the way it's going. If we keep pushing this political wokeness into our military, if we keep pushing these left-wing, objectives into our military, it shouldn't be political. They have one job, and it's to protect the United States and to kill.
Can I
say that sounds bad?
can I ask a question to see if you can, Sean, if you can, or whoever, Travis, can you verify for me what the status is now? I'm told that when you're in basic, if you feel overwhelmed by your drill sergeant, you can get I don't want to say like a safe word or something, but you can get a pass to take a break from. Is there truth to that, or what is that?
I'd have to confirm that. I know that wasn't a thing when I went in basic. I will tell you, basic training it's gotten weaker and weaker and weaker. And it was weak when I went through it. I won't lie. I thought it was a joke. I didn't do anything hard until I tried out for special forces. It was a joke. And I've heard it's gotten easier and easier. I've heard, I don't know if there's truth to that, but I have heard the same thing as you. And I know our drill sergeants, man, they have got to be, it sucks. They have to instill discipline, and they have to literally turn people don't understand that. You're taking a basic civilian off the street and you are literally changing their psychology, and you have to turn them into a killer. I'm not exaggerating this. You literally chant kill every damn day. what's the word I'm looking for, Sean? It's indoctrination. That's what it is. Like, and it's gotten so damn weak, and it's like it's a it's sad. It's sad. I'm pissed about it. Um, I don't know. It sucks. It sucks to see it. It really sucks to see it. And
I mean, Sean, as you're actively involved in this, what is your take on the state of the military right now?
You know, and it's part of the reason why I'm so thankful that I do it at the state level, um, because you know we are at least the Missouri Army National Guard is blessed where we have at the moment uh, have had a pretty supportive state government, local government to help provide for resources for the National Guard. And Missouri Army National Guardsmen have always been very active in our state, whether it's been protest or first response to whatever, deployments even. We're a very busy organization. But I agree with a lot of the talking points. I know a lot of things have changed. Now, there have been good changes for some things, but like Travis said, when you go to basic, right? When you are going to basic training, the point of basic training is to turn you into a basic soldier with the ability to shoot, move, and communicate, right? That is the big thing. Is it's basic training. Did you know that you can become a United States United States Army officer and never have to attend basic training?
Mm-hmm.
You could actually just do ROTC and become an officer and then instruct troops on how to perform their duties. The state, and as someone that is actively in, and Andy, you've seen it too, because you see high school students come in and out of your classroom every single day. Younger people are different than they were 5 years ago.
Definitely.
And even 5 years ago, they were different than they were 5 years before that. But one thing that Travis really said that I completely agree with is political wokeness has just made its way into the military. And it's little tiny things. It is super tiny things that you would think you are a soldier, right? You are a soldier. When we go on like company runs, right? One big thing is we've got, cadences that we do when we do company runs. When you're running down the street, you do cadences. A lot of them talk about killing, right?
yes,
You want to know what? We can do that, but like some of them might have a cadence where we say son of a bitch, but then that became too much. And then cussing, just saying bitch or just saying shit or just saying damn in a cadence was too much.
this is your military. This isn't
This
high
is the
school.
military.
This isn't a
yeah.
sports team. This is your military. But go on.
And it seems to be that priorities for the military, and this is all branches, this is not just the Army.
Yeah.
Again, shift towards this political wokeness. Instead of actually, like, I don't want to get heated, but instead of actually resolving the issues that were going down in Fort Hood, right? You had a female soldier murdered and failed by her leadership. And what did she get? She got a fucking gate named after her. She didn't get the respect. She didn't. I'm getting mad thinking about of how piss poor some of the leadership and where they thought the resources need to go. And that young woman was failed by her team and by the people around her. But guess what? Her family is going to have a gate that they get to see her name on every single time they drive by the post that failed her. Yep. You had colonels in that facility that were selling drugs, getting away with it. Fort Hood is, for reference, is a little bit larger, if not the same size as like Columbia, Missouri. Okay, it's that population wise, it's relatively large for a military post where there are gang members. There are full blown gangs on that post, and nothing gets done. Yep. The military police officers there, because I know tons that have been there, are literally treated like dog shit and aren't allowed to do. You have MPI and CID. These are military members that go undercover and act as other. They act like they're in different jobs, and they're murdered on military posts by other military service members. One thing that I am a firm believer in, that people can change, and that people do deserve a second chance when it comes to certain things. But people seem to forget and this is dating back, but you go back to 2001 after the World Trade Center attacks, Army recruiters were literally allowed to walk into jails and ask rapists, ask people that committed armed robbery, ask gang members, hey, do you want to join the military or do you want to go to jail? A lot of those people took the military deal. And a lot of those people are leaders now. Some of them have probably changed for the better. Absolutely, they probably have. But some of them haven't. And they became leaders, and they trained other leaders who are now in charge of the shit that we see. And that's why there's a lot of issues. The political wokeness is just pressure by, and again, there are things that need to change within the military. I know a lot of people complain about it, but guess what? We would not get SHARP briefs 8 times a year if SHARP wasn't an issue. Yeah. We wouldn't get alcohol-related incident briefs if alcohol-related incidents weren't a giant issue within the military. However, maybe the military, and this is all branches, because all branches do these things. This is not new. This is not just the Army. All branches need to wake up and say, hey, maybe we should try something different than giving these people 8 fucking PowerPoints a year on sexual assault. Let's actually do something real. Let's do something real to fix the issue. Because I will say one thing. The reason why sexual assault seems like it's such a big deal in the Army is because we are at least an organization that speaks up about it. Yeah. That's one thing that I can give us credit for. When it comes to the briefs, when it comes to the numbers that get reported, like let's compare Walmart to the Army. How many times do you hear about sexual assault happening at Walmart? But how many times does it actually happen? Probably quite a bit, but you just don't hear about it. Whereas the Army actually discusses it. However, where the issue is the military is talking about how it happens and creating its own by the book ways to fix it instead of actually figuring out real solutions. There's a big leadership problem. And a lot of them, I understand, are just bowing down to individuals who have never had anything to do with the military, instructing orders and instructing laws and rules and regulations. That's like if I never played a game of football a day in my life, but then became the commissioner of the NFL, right? You have individuals that have zero experience trying to say this is how you should do it.
Politics needs to get out of our military.
Yes. Unfortunately, we are in a time where, especially because it seems like the enemy might attack on other fronts other than warfare. They might, literally biologically with viruses find a way to attack us.
They're making the enemy within.
What'd you say?
There needs to be.
They're making the enemy come within now.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
There needs to be changes made. And here's the thing. It's not for everybody. Like it really isn't. So I do salute those that do take the oath and swear in, and I genuinely do. Like, for example, I was at a high school recently this past Sunday for a graduation. I had 2 soldiers that graduated from that school, along with I think 7 others, different branches or different services. These are 18-year-old kids, 17, 18-year-old kids that have now taken the oath to serve their country. And I get upset knowing that a couple of those soldiers are going to be failed by their leadership along the way. And it might not be like someone at Fort Hood who lost her life, but they'll be failed in other ways. And there needs to be some changes, politically big time. I hate saying it like this, but like I always go back. There's a South Park episode that I always think of when it comes to the military. How there's an episode called like I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll, where like there's a group of them that they go back in time and they look at like the founding fathers, where the founding fathers, it's Ben Franklin says like the we need the redneck assholes to be tough so that way nations won't push us over, but we also need the hippie douchebags to make us seem like not complete and total dicks. But when Russia and China are gearing for war, we need to stop worrying about sunshine and daisies when it comes to our military, and we need to literally buckle down and get focused on the task that is going to be at hand, because Travis is absolutely right. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but I always had this argument with a lot of the people that one thing you'd always hear all the time, and I'm sure Travis heard this too. Nothing frustrated me more than seeing a soldier that couldn't pass a PT test, that dipped, smoked, drank, chewed like he was getting paid to do it and couldn't fit his uniform, try to tell me that he could kill any member of ISIS that he wanted in hand-to-hand combat. I said, buddy, you could barely tie your bootstraps.
You know what's even worse? You can't get those people out.
You can't. You can't.
It's impossible.
You can't
I don't
now.
care what they say. It's impossible.
Nope. Yeah, that whole you fail yourselves to PT test height weight, you're out of here in a couple months. Nope, not true.
And you know what's funny?
Not true.
The military will they'll get kicked out or they'll get relieved, and they'll actually the Army will pay them. They'll get a huge check for like failing to adapt or whatever bullshit it is. I knew a guy that got out with like 20 grand cash because he just got fat, and he got discharged, and he got a huge check, and he ended up getting disability.
No.
This is now that I'm out and I can say these things without repercussions. God, there is so much. Our military, we could do a whole episode on this. I got so many points, so many experiences, so many, and maybe I could get a guest on who could. Well, I don't know if they'd be allowed to really get into the nitty gritty, but God, there is some. That video is just on the surface. There is so much into that. Like it goes deeper than this. This is a huge issue. Like, I'm sorry. I got friends that still serve, and my friends that I do have, I trust in my life. There's some great guys in the military. Our military as a whole, we have a serious problem, and I'm sorry, we'd lose a war right now. I say that I'm not comfortable.
Well, and I've told you guys this book that I'm working on right now about World War One, and I'm in this part. I've been getting into a lot here lately, and there was this part about talking about how they send these guys, like they were sending these 19, 20. I mean, because they were so hard up for soldiers toward the end that they were literally sending 15, 16-year-old kids. The Germans were sending 15-year-old kids on into the line, and I mean, these kids were just, and they just needed bodies up there. And how much, the losses that Germany was seeing towards the end was just phenomenal. What the French were seeing towards the end, the Battle of the Somme River. The Battle of the Somme River, the British lost 50,000 men in an afternoon. Of these guys who had basically about a month and a half of training, putting these guys out there on the front line, putting a gun in their hands. And history, we say it all the time, history is going to repeat itself. When we start getting, like you guys are talking about, and this scares me hearing you guys talk about this, but you can't put somebody who's that wet of a rookie and can't muster up think about what would happen if we had the same standards for a brain surgeon or a airline pilot. We can't. It has to be the same kind of standards that we expect other professionals to be at, I would think.
Well, and based on the profession too. Like, I'm sorry, your soldier is not the same as your employee at Walmart. Any military member, look, military members, we're not, this is going to sound cold, but it's a fact. You are government property. And your rights, so to speak, you kind of have them, but realistically you don't. You sign that contract. You're not, I'm sorry. Like, you willingly do it. They don't force you to do it. We haven't done the draft in God knows how long. But you probably know the year.
1978,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, like, we're not forcing you to sign up. Sean's not putting a gun to your head telling you got to sign the contract, So
that might help get numbers up, I guess.
God, it sucks. And you saw how mad Sean got. It pisses me off talking about it because I hated to see it. I hate to see it, but if we don't talk about it, people aren't aware of it. And hopefully this gets out. Hopefully people watch that video and please be vocal. Be vocal about it. This is a huge issue. Be vocal about it. Like, send messages to your representative. Write to your senator. This is a huge freaking issue. Please, spread this message. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care what damn color you are. I don't care. This is a huge, huge issue. One that I really hope can get fixed. Or we're screwed. Literally, we're done for.
Well, gentlemen, it has been it's been a good chat. I definitely think I like these relaxed bit kind of these vibes where we can just kind of talk about a couple different things.
Man, 14 episodes, we're getting pretty good at this crap.
Loose, yeah. Oh yeah. But is there? I mean, as this next week goes by, there could be all kinds of new crazy details about anything that we'll really kind of dive deep into. Sometime in the middle of this week, we will announce what topic specifically we're going to go over next week, just to give you guys a little bit of a heads up for next Monday and see what we're going to chat about. But I appreciate everyone that listened along. Gentlemen, is there anything that you two have before we sign out of here tonight?
Just again, want to say our appreciation. I was looking at our analytics for last week, and we had a large number of watchers and viewers, listeners on our podcast. That was one of our big weeks that we've had, and I just want to thank you guys so much for listening, sharing with your friends. So continue to do so.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Well, it has been fun, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. This is the Voice of Reason podcast. Make sure you check us out on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and right here on Facebook. This has been a great week. I hope you guys drink plenty of water, stay safe, and either get your shots or don't. This has been the Voice of Reason podcast 2021. And we will talk to you guys next time.
See you guys.